Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. Last week we discussed what happened in Iran after the United States blasted the Iranians' nuclear facilities. And we'll also compare the policies of several countries involved in the event. We discussed policies of Iran, Israel, Communist China, Russia, and of course the United States. And we came to the conclusion that Iran was defeated, and the Iranian policy of both Russia and Communist China met with a major setback. And it seems that both the United States and Israel are on top of the game. Today we're going to elaborate a little bit on Communist China's policy, how they evaluate the situation in the region, and what they may do next. Originally, their policy toward the area was quite simple. First, they want oil. They want oil from Iran and from the neighboring countries. And secondly, they want to struggle against the United States, against the so-called American imperialism in the region. So that was their main goal at the time. But things changed a little bit ever since year 2013. Xi Jinping came to power in 2012. Probably 1 year later, he put forward a what should we call it? A very ambitious and very gigantic project. They call it the Belt and Road Initiative. They meant to invest in nearly 70 countries and international organizations in the region, covering states from Northern Asia to Western Asia, to the countries alongside the Indian Ocean, the Mediterranean and South American, Africa, and so on and so forth. And it is estimated, altogether they put in 1,100 billion US dollars in the project. So it is regarded as the core part, the focal part of Xi Jinping's great power diplomacy. So it's a gigantic thing. You can tell from the magnitude. And it is widely known that this Belt and Road project has created much problems to the recipient countries. Let's skip that topic for the moment. Let's turn to what happened next. We have noticed that ever since the year 2018, Beijing has adjusted the policy a little bit. The magnitude or the scale of the investment has shrunken greatly. And China's role has transformed from the biggest loan grantor to the biggest debt collector. But anyway, it is through this Belt and Road Initiative that China has built a relationship with many countries along the way. Economic and trade, finance, politics, diplomacy, and anti-terrorism. Anyway, but altogether, Iran has been serving as the main gateway of this project of China's into the area, into the Middle East area. But as we pointed out earlier, Iran has its own policy goals in the region. First, it wants to compete against the Sunni Muslims. And second, it wants to compete for supremacy with great powers in the region, such as Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And in order to achieve these goals, Iran tried to support and manipulate groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Shia Muslims, the Shia militia in Iraq, and the Assad regime in Syria, and the Houthi rebels in Yemen. So it has long been considered the origin of regional instability, and that's a troublemaker in the eyes of many countries in the area. And we also pointed out that behind Iran, Communist China has been its biggest supporter for decades, for many years. Since the year 2023, the situation in the area has changed a lot. We know that Hamas is almost annihilated, and the Hezbollah is defeated seriously, and the Houthi has been under attack, and the Assad regime in Syria collapsed, and even Iran is now suffering a major setback, attacked by both Israel and the United States. So how does Communist China view the situation? Well, people always talk about, oh, they lose their cheap oil from Iran. They used to buy the oil from Iran at as low as $2 to $3 a barrel. Now they have to pay a lot more. That's not a big deal for them. Well, anyway, it is important, but it is not that big. The bigger thing for them on their mind is perhaps, what would happen to their policy of this Belt Road Initiative. They used to use Iraq or Syria and Iran as a gateway and as a passageway to the area. And now that the Assad regime has collapsed and Iran is being beaten, so what would happen to the land route? Can they still use a land route as they did before? And secondly, with their covert assistance to groups like Hamas, like Houthi, and like Hezbollah, by way of Iran, it's not being defeated. It's been wiped out, or perhaps we should say uprooted. So this, what they call the axis of resistance, is no longer in existence. And furthermore, with the United States directly joined the operation by blasting Iran's nuclear facilities, that's a heavy blow to Communist China's influence in the region. So the question is, what can they do next? Facing this kind of a setback, many countries may choose to submit or to yield. But I can guarantee you, this won't happen to Communist China. They will not yield. They will try to fight back. Although they will not openly intervene through military means, but instead they'll choose to play the role of a neutral mediator. They'll call for peace, call for a ceasefire, and they'll play with words like peace, negotiation, talks, ceasefire, and things like that. And that's exactly what happened right after the United States bombardment of the Iranians' nuclear facilities. And that's what the Chinese ambassadors to the United Nations said in the Security Council. In concrete terms, I think there are several things that will go on top of their agenda. The first one is Beijing will try very, very hard to stabilize the situation in the area, to keep a safe and steady flow of the oil, either by way of the Red Sea or even through the Strait of Hormuz. That's the first thing. The second thing is they'll pay more diplomatic attention to countries in the region, in the so-called the Gulf region. Countries like UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia, of course. And they'll probably concentrate on topics like regional security, stability, or even anti-terrorism. These are all very good topics to focus on. And thirdly, if the Iranian-Syrian route is so unstable ever since the attacks, they may want to find an alternative route, perhaps the sea route. In that case, I suppose that Beijing would increase its investment in the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, or even countries in East Africa, things like that. And fourthly, I guess that China will promote its arms sales to the region. It could sell its drones, high-end air defense systems, and jet fighters, and even missiles to countries like UAE and Saudi Arabia. And the last, but not the least, they will change their propaganda tactic. They'll probably put less emphasis on yielding support to the suppressed camp. And instead, they'll probably say more about like establishing a multilateral regional security framework free of outside interference, namely free of United States interference and things like that. Last week, on June the 25th, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization held their annual meeting in Qingdao, Shandong Province. Communist China's Defense Minister Dong Jun appeared, and he received defense ministers from Russia and from Iran, Belousov and Nazir Zadeh, respectively. In the meeting, Minister Dong Jun promoted more unity, cooperation, and coordination among the three countries. He said so that the global strategic stability can be maintained by this. In addition, Dong Jun criticized phenomena like unilateralism and protectionism. He even pointed that hegemony, arbitrariness, and bullying being the major source of global instability. These three words, hegemony, arbitrariness, and bullying, don't they sound familiar? Earlier this year, we mentioned that they used these three terms, or these three words, to describe United States diplomatic behavior. So far, these are the things that one would imagine that Beijing would do. But given the very low moral standards of the Chinese communists, we cannot rule out another possibility. We've noticed that from June the 15th through 17th, Beijing dispatched the 3 747 cargo planes to the area. They were supposed to fly to Luxembourg. That's what they claimed. But somehow they turned off their radar signal right before they entered into the area, into the Iranian airspace. So that leads us to wonder, did they bring anything there? Or did they take anything out of there? Again, given the low moral standards that we can suspect, will Beijing provide any covert assistance to help Iran rebuild their nuclear facilities, or all the way to making nuclear bombs? We don't know. So that remains a mystery, and that remains to be observed. Well, that's all I want to share with you today. I hope you like it. If you haven't subscribed to our program, please do so and share it with your friends, and click the icon bell so that you can get the on-time notification. I'll see you next time then.